See my soul. It began in the cold, thin air and bright sun of the Himalaya mountains when I was still in many ways a child. I sat at the foot of Tibetan holistic medicine healers and was humble enough to listen. They shared with me their practice of 3 cups of tea, a ceremony passed down from the wisdom of ancestors and ages, a learning that we cannot be a part of healing each other until we see each other, sister, brother. And so the healer. We're here today to talk about the healer. When a soul comes to see a Tibetan healer over there by Mount Everest, up high, for support with their well-being, for support with their hard stuff, their trauma, their pain, their fears, their hurt, their abandonment, their betrayals, when they come to a Tibetan healer, the healer does not rush that soul through a superficial story of symptoms like what happens to you and I when we go to the doctor in the US of A. How many of you had that experience going to the doctor and the doctor's not really listening to you or looking at you, just scribbling away, and they make you feel like you're sort of in the way of them getting on to their next thing? How many, show of hands, have had that experience? That's what we are living in, let's be truthful. But here in the Himalayas, the doctor does not rush the soul through a superficial story of symptoms so that the healer can then push and prescribe unnatural medicines to suppress those symptoms and then chase away the vulnerable, fearful soul who has come for help. Instead, the healer first offers a cup of tea, the first cup of shared tea with plenty of silence and story and listening, brings the 2 strangers into a new place of familiarity, so stranger becomes familiar. They are being introduced, swapping ancestral sermons, letting their 2 spirits dance into a 3rd spirit of commonality. See, they then share a 2nd cup of tea, which brings the 2 familiar souls into friendship, from familiar to friend. Follow me. And the 3rd cup of tea, a shared tea, brings them into the sacredness of kinship, a place of intimacy necessary for trust to flow both ways. Trust being the soil for safety, safety being the sanctuary for story, story being the garden from which the medicine grows and the river of healing flows. Here we are today, you and I, family, to remember this sacred art of truly listening, which is not done with our ears, but with our hearts. In a land such as ours, in a time such as this, where everyone is talking, yelling, imposing, forcing, bullying, but not truly feeling, you and I are here today to remember what happens when we grow still enough, quiet enough, and humble enough to listen to the gift that is another soul choosing to express itself to us. Now let me pause and interject. We're going to take this to church, but specifically Black church. Is that all right? What I'm trying to say is we're going to have some call and response. Don't be sitting there quiet like a mouse, all timid, and think that that's being respectful. You know how you are respectful today, my family? You are respectful today by expressing yourself. Act like you down in Louisiana, in New Orleans or something, and you're rowdy. Act like you don't have no sense. If you feel something, say something. Call and response. Say amen. Hallelujah. Get up out of your seat. Dance and beat. Move around. Act like you're alive today. Can we do that? Some of us are culturally challenged at expressing ourselves in a moment like this. And I send you love, my people. I believe in you. You can break free from the constraints of your cultural conditioning and you can be expressive today. So let's get some energy going. Let's get some energy going because this is a ceremony. This is a ceremony. You and I are here to remember what happened. See, the baby gets it. When we grow still enough, quiet enough, and humble enough to listen to the gift that is another soul choosing to express itself in us. For in that soul's expression, lives our own medicine. What I'm trying to say is, if you truly listen to somebody, they deliver medicine to you that was made for you. Whoa, it's been designed like that. If you truly treat someone with enough reverence and veneration to say, I care what this person is experiencing. I care what this child is going through. I care what my colleague is dealing with. I care what my lover is feeling the weight of. I care what my brother and sister are crying about. I care what my children are fighting for every day out on the streets. I care enough, and so I'm going to listen. And when we listen, they deliver our own medicine. This world is a gallery of mirrors made of the souls and stories of living things. We are all looking into the glass to catch a reflection that tells us who we are together and alone. These reflections are the evidence by which we grow our beliefs and values and attitudes. These reflections become our compass, moral code, and mantra. And so we are here today to listen to what our children have to say, including most of all, the child that is in us. The child that is in us. Here we are today in these bodies, you and I, here in these identities, these bodies, realities, but we did not begin here like this. First, we were souls and we had nothing. Because we had nothing, we were everything. Infinite possibility. I'm talking about when we were in the womb. I'm talking about when we first sparked into life. Because we had no self-consciousness, no shame, guilt, or fresh new harm, we were not on alarm. We were simply and sensationally essence. And we could see everything for what it truly was. We could feel its truth. We were not buried beneath sediment of cultural conditioning. No one yet had told us what a thing was, what its value was, whether it was beautiful or scornful, superior or inferior, clean or dirty, safe or violent, damaged or whole. Nobody had told us nothing yet. We were not bruised and buried beneath judgment of ourselves, of others. We had no playbook, no rule book, no glaucoma or cataracts in our vision. We were gestating and knew we were wet with glory, and we saw souls. And because we could see souls, we were souls. We were glistening truth swimming in the weeping womb of wonder and awe. These young people here today, each of them is no different from you and me. We each have been crying out for the same thing since our beginning. Mom, see me. Dad, see me. Brothers and sisters, see me. Coach, see me. Teacher, see me. Wife, husband, lover, see me. Friend, stranger, enemy, see me. God, see me. See me and let me see myself. We have always known that being okay in this world depends on others. Yeah? We are a people of relationship. We want fresh fruit for lunch, but someone has to turn the soil, plant the seed, raise the melons, bring the crops to market. Someone has to keep the water running, the bills paid, the roof roofing. Someone got to hold us, scold us, put bold in us, mold us, show us, hear us, come near us, trust us, teach us, forgive us, clothe us, feed us, lead us, follow us, just be there for us. There is no self-made human being. And when hard things happen in a childhood, who's making sure that soft things happen too? What is the foundation, I'm trying to say, of independent living? What if that foundation of independent living is interdependence? This is cultural, the ability to coexist, and not just the ability of children and young people to coexist, but also the ability of adults to coexist. And what if this interdependence relies on our ability to see each other? For if I cannot clearly see you, I cannot hold you sacredly, nor relate with you according to the brilliance of your totality. I will miss your gifts and wonders, attribute to your behavior things that overlook your journey, your tender places, your hopes and needs and dreams. And if you cannot see me clearly, you can only imagine me. And your imagination is a product of your cultural conditioning. Even if you love me, but you do not see all of me, your love cannot yield an imagination of me that honors and nourishes the truth of me. And how can we weave this life together if we do not feel safe together at the loom and cannot honor the strands we each add to the fabric? We must believe in each other's sacred stories and treat them sacredly. This is what allows interdependence to bloom. We are never really on our own. This is a myth that unwell culture spins. No child is independent. All children carry an ember called potential, which simmers with sovereignty. Our charge is to prepare them to claim and carry out the mantle of this sovereignty. Our charge is to prepare them to claim and carry out the mantle of their sovereignty, their ownership of their own life. And what does this look like? It looks like a soul's ability to nurture and garden and honor the subtle textures and bold prints of their life, which is our life, which is life. An interdependent child, follow me, knows how to make beauty out of pain, conflict, misunderstanding, fear, disagreement, distrust, and social disease. An interdependent child turns all of that into medicine. Independent living is interdependent living. A stability and activation within the child that harmonizes with the chorus of what is well in the world and endures what is not well in the world. A fluidity of music, a poignant pulsing delicacy of being within the web of being, a sensual sermon of self in the sanctuary of we-ness, the behavior of life itself. Are you beginning to feel this? Blinded by the pollution of our social ideas, we believe we know each other, but we are at best guessing, unless we are willing to wade into our own polluted waters, sons and daughters, and clear them, cleanse them, purify them. Now this takes courage. A willingness to feel the pain of confronting our prejudice and poison. The bravery of letting go of lifelong teachings and ideologies passed down to us from others. We all have had 1,000 teachers by this point, 1,000 times infinity. But how many of our teachers have been motivated by love and how many by hate? Who was repeating what they were told and who was passing on their heart's truest gold? You and I are an accumulation of opinions and imperfect, uninformed perspectives. We are gardens with weeds, junkyards with discarded ideas, generational attitudes, heaps of harm, piles of beauty, inherited mattresses of assumption that we lay down on and call rest. Let me say that one again. Inherited mattresses of assumption about each other that we lay down on and call rest. Fresh quilts of inspiration, sharpened needles of intuition, and spirits that recognize truth even when we want the lie. Destructive family rules never spoken but played out every day. You and I are played out of our original nature, which is to be intimately woven with everything, spun like silk, shimmering in sunlight, musical notes of togetherness. Together we weave this thing called being alive. Together we weave this thing called being alive. Now, in our professional spaces like this, our formal spaces, we tend to lose our humanity. At the office, at work, at staff meetings, in the car on the way to work, you started off boom into your beatbox in the car when you got up that morning, but by the time you got to the office, you were dead inside. Not because of you, but because of the cultural climate and condition, the ecology and the environment of the way we work, right? We show up like mummies. We show up like zombies because the work is killing us. Or I should say the way we do the work is killing us. The work is sacred and has the potential to bring us alive, right? But we tend to lose our humanity in this work. And that, I'm speaking as a sort of a tale of caution for our young people. You're being moved along this journey, this course into adulthood, where you know and feel that we expect you to work. And work and work and work and work. And work no matter how you're feeling. Work no matter what you're dealing with. Work no matter if you've lost your health or you're just giving birth. We expect you to work to pay the bills, work until retirement, which too often is the end of life because you've been working, right? Okay? So to our young people, we're saying, be mindful of the way that we describe to you how life should be. Make sure that you hold on to your precious dreams, your passionate flowers, your excitement and joy, your adventure and discovery. Make sure you hold on to your artistry, the things that you like to do. You know, don't betray your tunes. Now, this killing that happens in our work is because of our way of servitude. It derives from a dehumanizing cultural way of being rooted in extraction. I extract your childhood history from the caseload paperwork, and then I imagine you. Let me say, it says right here, I extract your childhood history from the caseload paperwork, and then I imagine you. What? Imagining you, I dictate and direct who you are, what you need, and more accurately, what the system needs from you. This act of extraction itself dehumanizes me, the worker, the professional, the grown folk, the adult, because it places a tourniquet around my compassion, my empathy, my sensitivity, intuition, and love. Yes, it constricts my love. And each of these warm qualities are what makes me human. Too often, though, my human qualities conflict with my professional duties and what is expected of me. This conflict impacts my own well-being, leaving me ever more vulnerable to falling prey to, becoming culpable in, surrendering to this work of extraction. You with me? So even as I, the adult, do this work, system and society are extracting from me, the adult. Everybody's being extracted from. System and society are pressuring, prodding, and mule driving me, the adult, labeling, categorizing, siloing, and segregating me, the adult, from others, from myself, and from my divine brilliance and possibility. I am being reduced like an image on paper in an office copying machine. I'm not being enlarged by the work, I'm being reduced. I'm being flattened into a caricature, into a one-dimensional thing, not a human being. This is the jeopardy of our culture. Now you, the child, feel me, you, the child, that means you young people, and then you grown people who have the child in you still. You being a child, you witnessed all of this grown folk madness, and you quickly learn that this is an extraction game. You learn that the adults in your life are too often not motivated most deeply to see you, but rather to imagine you into a category, an adjective, a persona and caricature that fits neatly into our various systems. Child welfare, education, mental health, juvenile justice. You know the beats. And so you have limited choices as a young person. You can rant and rail against our ideas of you, which will tragically result in us cementing our ideas of you. Yeah, you can rage against the dying of the light, or you can bow down and submit to the extractions, imaginations, and predetermined expectations. You can become the diagnoses, the stigma, statistic, and outcome. You can quickly or slowly disappear from yourself, become helpless, hopeless, shadow walker, hungry ghost, always yearning, consuming, but never feeling satiated, whole, or complete. You can do that, or young people, you can find your way to the rare and particular path where you grow a love affair with yourself, so multidimensional and deeply rooted that you become a living, breathing, healing, blooming phenomenon. too fortified to be swallowed by monsters dwelling inside the social expectations of you. You can become the seer who finally sees you, and in seeing you, frees you. Yes. To place you into our systems, we don't even need to see you. In fact, seeing you contradicts our placing of you, because your soul is and will always be, follow me, your soul is and will always be greater and more possible than our system language can hold. We speak in diagnoses and insurance codes, but you are a supernova, a nebula, a supercalifragilistic synonym for infinity. You are glory, unpronounceable greatness, profound promise, mystic magic, sublime serenade of life living in the form of you. Systems do not do well with greatness, with divine possibility, not the systems we have here in our colonized, dehumanized, capitalized dimension. Systems don't do well with greatness like you. The human in us adults often grieves for and yearns for a more human way, and yet we are caught in a spider web of law, policy, practice, protocol, and cultural norms that we struggle to break free from. We too, as grown folks, are slaves to our systems, are we not? We're on the plantation too. We too are incarcerated, adjudicated, interrogated, imagined down into one-dimensional characters known as HR titles and budget line items. Our human vitals, our heartbeat, soul beat, rhythm, and romance are not welcome here in the hard fields of industry where we churn our reports, outcomes, measurables, all for the chance to continue operating, being employed, receiving funding. We adults know this dance. It leaves us no passion or paradise, but we do our best to bring life to this lifeless way of system things. Now, soul seeing in a land like ours, where soul blindness is normalized, capitalized, and incentivized, is not for the weak of heart. It is not a comfort journey or a convenience path. Here is the truth, though. You would not be here today, not any of you, if you did not have soul seers who came before you. Feel that? What I'm saying, it's like, we didn't get here by accident, we got here by grace. Someone before us had the courage and the love for us enough to see their own soul, so that they could see the soul of the world, so that they could become an ancestor that prepared a way for us. You would not be here, not any one of you, if you did not have these soul seers who came before you. They may have been your ancestors, your family, your culture, your colleagues in spirit. Many of them are still alive today in the world, friends, mentors, coaches, teachers, neighbors, cousins of common concern. You are not here today and alive and well enough to be here just because of chance. You are breathing the air right now of soul seers. You are drinking the water poured by soul seers. Your belief in yourself is a fire lit first and tended by soul seers. Your spirit is an inheritance, an offspring, a reflection of soul seeing. This story today is not pessimistic. It drips and surges with promise. You are evidence that soul seers live in you. You are not starting from scratch. You are an ancient etching on the stone of this world, revitalized in your lifetime, in your generation and era, to show us how to dance again and sing again and sow good seeds again and remember the life-affirming ways. Now listen, you ask, I know you ask, how do I become a soul seer? This is not the question. The question is, how do I remember myself? To remember yourself is to activate the soul seer in you, the one who sees you clearly and entirely, freeing you to see others holistically and without prejudice. Now hear this. The moment you believe there is some magic recipe, some best practice, some perfect script for soul seeing, you deactivate your innate soul seeing ability. You disempower yourself. One day, finally, each of us is going to have to accept and embrace that we are our own responsibility. We are naturally capable of unlocking and unleashing the medicine of seeing clearly and soulfully both ourselves and the world. Here's the thing that is a cause for hope for us. Soul seeing is contagious. The more clearly you see yourself, my young brothers and sisters, the more clearly you see yourself, the more you generate an energy, an aura that lets others know you see yourself. You know what I'm saying? We call that juice, you all right? Something primal in them then recognizes that you are not prey. Young brothers and sisters, hear this. When you generate this soul-seeing aura, the predators recognize that you are not prey. Not vulnerable to be exploited, misused, abused, deceived, taken for granted. You seeing you sets the social terms for how others relate to you. Checking you out, they cannot help but check themselves out. They start asking, am I seeing myself? Clearly, am I seeing myself honestly and truthfully? They say, I want that soul seer over there's kind of energy and aura. I want peace like that. I want to walk lightly. I want to hover over troubled waters. I want to tame my pain and alchemize my trauma. I don't want no more drama. I want serenity. I choose to release the old story of the beat in me. I want victory. I want to breathe peace and feel like clouds and release what comes and does not belong and what leaves and is not mine. I want warmth in winter and cool in summertime. What does a child who sees themselves and others clearly feel and act and live like? This is the question. The answer is legendary. This soul feels pain and does not run from it, holds it like earth holds storms, peers into it like a butterfly peers through window glass. Lets pain teach it the textures of life. This soul does not run on remote control, prey to puppet masters dressed as friends, prey to cultures that want to suck it dry and dead, prey to fear that wants it paralyzed, stuck, frozen, its dreams fading by the day. No, this soul does not run on remote control, capable of critical thinking, which is the same as vital feeling, discernment alive as spirit, choices made sacredly, like which sacred plant to weave into the human loom. This soul reads the room, that is the moment, and is clarified, knows which way to move, how to move, eyes on the sparrow, focused on what counts, capable of releasing resentments and victimhood, centered in grace and gratitude, an astounding flower growing in a meadow of madness, mayhem, and mystery. This soul knows why it is here, knows the sky of its essence and the clouds of its fear. This soul breathes in the blizzard, balances burdens into a fine blessing, becomes ice, crystal, mist, steam, water, whatever form is needed to be true to itself. This soul is sacred water. This soul is sacred water, becomes true to itself to escape the bondage of despair, of cultural cages, of identity traps, of a frantic society. This soul knows how to take naps. This soul knows how to remember ancestral wisdoms and to forget false narratives told by confused colonized creatures crawling in the cuts. This soul downloads fresh beats from its own sovereignty, ends generational cycles of harm, touches clay into sculpture, makes blemishes shine beautiful. This soul is dutiful to its collective calling. This soul does not flee the fire, brings freedom water to the flames. This soul dissolves caste systems, breathes value and dignity into broken domes and homes and hoods and schools and relationships. This soul is medicine in relationships, is a pristine prayer for harmony in the house, drops gentleness into the brew that lovers drink, chants serenity, puts stress to sleep, fills the streets with cookouts and joy lookouts. This soul is music, brings birds to audience, puts sway in the trees, stirs the water like a big belly moon. This soul is peace patrol, moving through adolescence and adulthood like a prophet would, like an eagle high in flight, the whole picture, seeing it, the whole point in life. This soul talks strife down to smooth, walks down chaos until it chills, rearranges the alphabet of violence into a sacred language for harmony, not submissiveness, passiveness, or oppressiveness, but liberation with wings and good word, dropping freedom seeds like birds drop future forests from the sky. This soul bleeds truth, calls out lie, gets down with integrity, hangs with high character, lingers with sincerity, deep dives with devotion. This soul is a whole commotion, a verified holy ocean, a password no one can guess, a mystery that knows its own history and the history of how humans harm humans and how humans get free. This soul touches the untouchables, speaks the taboo, breaks all the chains, drinks the blessing rains, climbs the mountains of circumstance, sits by the burning bush, comes down from the mountain high with a golden word, spreads good word will like dawn spreads light. This soul is the sacred scroll that reads itself, fluent in its own tongue, literate in its own language, a living love letter to the world, disavowed of conformity, intimate with intimacy, kindred with kindness, find up in character like fineness, sober on ceremony, sweet as the sweetest water, aligned with divineness. This soul is devoted to a life of seeing, and so it is wealthy in lyrics, is a song in the silence, silence in the song, beauty and bliss. This soul is all of this. And what does an adult, a grown folk, a helping professional, an advocate who sees themselves and others clearly feel and act like? This is the question. The answer is incendiary, burns old structures to the ground. A soul-seeing adult gets all the way down, shows up naked for work. No, not naked like that. Come on, Hamza. This soul shows up naked for work, naked of learned performances and fashionable professionalisms, fakeness, naked of distorted ideas of leadership, of servitude, of being a good employee, a rewardable staff, a commendable supervisor, manager, director, CEO, funneler of funds to stakeholders, accredited, certified, qualified expert on the thing, liaison, grant writer, facilities manager, security officer, tech wizard, patron, philanthropist, defender of the cause, overseer of the underseeing, explainer of the unexplainable, political masseuse. No, a soul-seeing adult or helping professional shows up for this work naked of all that misleading conditioning, ill-affecting narrative, professional costumes, dehumanizing personas, and convoluted identities. A soul-seeing adult shows up for work naked, stripped down, nude, revealed, fortified, fertilized, and rooted enough in who they are to not have to act like a professional. So that they can be the one thing that our children need them to be, which is humanity. This means the soul seer has invested in a lifetime of contemplating what it means to be human, how impressionable and needful we are of each other naturally, and the promises of our social nature, the jeopardy of our fears and insecurities, and how the ways we are touched since conception shape how we show up as participants in this servitude. A soulseer has considered this, reckoned with this. A soulseer like this has tasted the mist and the dirt and learned to separate intention from impact, propaganda from consequence, prejudice from singularity, sovereignty from enslavement, peer pressure from kinship devotion, hate's hollowness from love's fertility, and the age-old quest we go on as we become more edumacated, degreed, and satisfied. This quest we go on is a chant, and the chant says, stay human, stay human, stay human, stay human, which means to stay intimately in communion with all living things. A communion that generates mercy and grace more than a whisper, a strong moving stream. A soul-seeing adult is a reckoner, investigates their own childhood, lineage, ancestry, and humanity, not with the sharp blade of judgment, but with the soft touch of maternal care. They ask, can I decipher the code for all the pain and promise that I carry in my precious little body, in my vast oceanic spirit? Can I learn how my texture and sediment breathes and beats and cries and expresses its joy? Can I learn what makes me more vulnerable to oppressive energies and demands, and how I may fortify myself to stand true like the tallest trees in the biggest storms, and blessed by my roots still bear fruit? A soul-seeing adult reckons with the realities of burnout, delusionment, exhaustion, so-called compassion fatigue, deficits in time, income, resources, approval, appreciation, celebration, validation, affirmation, empathy, and compassion, deficits often from within their own leadership, colleagues, community, and culture. A soul-seeing adult sits present with all of this and sends it love. Opens their heart to all of this and lets it run out wild into the pasture of its own creative expression, so it may be held by the larger, greater, more enduring sky of existence. A soul-seeing adult holds all of this like a parent cradling a newborn with mercy and grace dripping from their being. A soul-seeing adult does not tarry long in the pits of scorn, resentment, or spite, but gathers up an ointment for their hurt, a balm for their bruises, a medicine of pause for their breathlessness. They beautify all their spaces and farm humbleness from the soil of arrogance. They recognize their belonging in the great togetherness. They seek out kinship, friendship, family, genuine, intimate community. They gather beauty, joy, laughter, uncensored tears. They know where healing may be found, and they go there. They stay there as long as they need. They bleed. They remember that these children, these young people they are here for, are just as beautiful and bruised as they are. They remember that we are all struggling to swim upstream against a cultural current that has forgotten its indigenous life-giving ways. A soul-seeing adult knows we are all here on a journey home to wholeness, natural rhythms and cycles, gentleness and softness, organic growing, dying away, and reemergence. A soul-seeing adult is not a hard stone, but a permeable passion, not cold, calculating, and closed, but dilated like a divine flower, open and faithful to what love can do when it is breathed and shared and woven with by souls who see its miraculous omnipotence. A soul-seeing adult is an ultimate realist, a wondrous optimist, seeing through all of our identity confusion and old generational demeaning patterns, gazing us still as the brilliant imperfection we are, all of us, of all ages and seasons and circumstances. A soul-seeing adult says, I will go forth into this uncertain future with the wick of my original candle lit against the shadows, and I will bring with me the currency of unshakable love for these child souls, unbreakable belief in these child souls, an unconquerable kindness for myself and my kin, my colleagues, my peers, my humankind. I choose kindness even in my weariness, most of all kindness for myself, which is not only me, but all that makes me, which is the mineral and miracle of we. And how do we create this culture of soul seers in our childhoods and adulthoods and workhoods? Here is the question we arrive to. How do we create this culture? This is the question. And this is where our story enters the deeper water. Are you ready to be soaked, to let your soul waters rise and go free? Are you ready? For if even now in this moment you find yourself tight and tense and bound, dear one, you are a reflection of our collective human condition, and we are in need of profound loving care. For you and I to heal our culture, we are going to have to heal our human journey, touch it all the way back to the beginning, and touch it all the way forward to this day, this moment, and on into all the tomorrows to come. We're going to need our healers and our scientists and our teachers and our preachers. We're going to need our parents and our grandparents. We're going to need our athletes and our musicians and our artists. We're going to need our quiet, mute children and our loud, boisterous ones. We're going to need the moon and we're going to need the sun. This may seem daunting, intimidating, unreal, this task. It may seem impossible and not worth the effort, but this kind of doubt is exactly what has been felt and said and believed about every single one of these young souls we are here for today. They live cloaked in doubt. Doubt from the entire humanity. Doubt from every space they go into. Doubt from the gaze of the adults who've already judged them and labeled them, scorned them and stigmatized them, sentenced them to banishment from a beautiful life. You and I cannot afford to sink into the same surrender, malaise, myopia, and depressed spirit that others do. Too much depends on us remaining aloft. This may not seem fair. You and I have not enlisted, though, in a fairness project. We're here to heal. We are here for healing, which is always a miracle. Look to your own healing for evidence. Our healing is a miracle. It's grace. And so now that we today claim our devotion to this cause, how do we heal our culture? Now, the moment someone says, this is the only way over here, I got this recipe, I got this program, this is the only way. The moment someone says that, then we are as lost as we have always been. We know there is no only way to heal this culture. Only the choices we make now. Our choices give birth to our ways. Our paths are multitude. Our powers are as well. What we can say is that a soul-seeing culture feels how it feels, and we get to know the feeling. Some would say that a soul-healing culture, a soul-seeing and healing culture feels like this. Our bones weeping like waterfalls from the mouth of ministry. You and I releasing the stony earth of harm and forgetting, the sour separating soil we have carried for so long. You and I giving ourselves to our unburial. We begin anew today in how we gaze inward with eyes that do not judge, eyes that penetrate the layers of our scar tissue and arrive at the soft flesh of our nature, a gaze that moves into the womb of our being to resurrect the prayer we are, the hopeful yearning for kindness, kindness from within and without. We begin healing our culture again today in how we gaze each other with the part of us that was so easily moved as children at the sight of a flower, a rainbow, a smile, the part of us that was not so harsh in our assessments and impatience, the part of us that could spend hours outside in awe at everything, fully present, wide open, yawning with curiosity and a natural child's veneration for living things. We begin healing our culture again today, and it feels like laws and policies that come from a determined love, the kind of love we have for those we love, and not laws and policies that come from cold calculation. Our healing culture feels like a new nation, a nubile thing, sincere and authentic, quieter than we are used to, more in love with listening and learning, a humble pose that wants to be close to the one and one another so we can discover beauty, not so that we can prey on each other. Our healing culture feels like great hands carrying us when we are tired, excusing us when we need to leave, welcoming us warmly when we return. Our healing culture feels like us slowing down this endless carousel, this panicked, traumatized agreement to suffer and call it a society. Feels like not calling transactional habits progress, and not calling checking procedural boxes progress, and not calling progress reports success. Feels like us learning each other more intimately, more sacredly, calling this success. Feels like us remembering what togetherness feels like, what discovering our neighbors feels like, what supporting new parents feels like, what deferring to our elders, oracles, and sages feels like. Feels like finding the reason and bravery to let go of our ways that do not serve any of us, letting go of our best practices that are actually worst practices, that are culturally biased practices, that are therefore not humanistic practices because they do not foster what it is to be human. Letting go of the practices because they do not foster what it is to be human. Letting go of the clothings and performances and personas of our labels and titles and trainings, and finding the manna, the nectar, the maple in our ways of being, and being willing to examine our ways of being and repairing our ways of being. Our healing culture, family, feels like granting ourselves more rest, more breath, more chill. Relearning the value of joy and pause and quiet and not doing, and not pretending that repeating professional norms means we are healing. Our healing culture feels more vulnerable, more honest, less polished and shiny, more ceremonial, more ritual, more soulful, less punitive, more corrective, less violent, more sanctifying, less rushed, more intentional. Our healing culture feels like an orchard on a warm day with the peaches just ripe and the breeze just right and ponds nearby with clear water plenty and time to drink the water and time to peer into the water and see our true reflection and space for stories, real stories that have real emotions and a human range of complexity, real stories that wander and return and sing and grow quiet, stories that feel like rich stew in our bellies and warm blankets on our backs at night, and feel like moonlight in the morning and dawn sprouting at midnight. In our healing orchard, everyone contributes what feels good for them to contribute, and their offerings are received and held sacredly and compensated sacredly, and the crops get planted and harvested, and there are many feast days because no one is hoarding the food, and the people trust that plenty will be shared. And childhood is treated like the continual yearning for affirmation that it is, and adulthood is treated like the continual yearning for validation that it is. In our orchard, we discover that the four elements live in us: sky, water, earth, fire, and we behave as such, secure and benign, in continuous ceremony, not pathological with fear. And the animals and plants are not afraid of us because they can feel us learning to be among living things again. They feel us drop our nervousness, our fear of our own souls and each other, dropping to the ground our anxious avoidance of anything real, shedding the skins of ways of being relearned in crisis. And since crisis is our chronic condition, this orchard feels like us letting go of the story that all of life and every moment is an emergency. Our healing culture feels like this, us believing in our well-being more deeply than we believe in disaster. Feels like the way our heart beats in the morning, waking from a sweet dream. Feels like when someone we love and have lost appears in our dream and lets us know they are okay and wants us to be okay too. Feels like when the sunset is an impossible color and comes to live in our chest. Feels like you and I choosing and then not choosing to make our professional urgencies our priority. Instead, letting what feels good to us, good for us, good with us, right here and now, breathe and breathe and breathe. Feels like the lightness of being that comes with such a breath. Thank you.